Shit, I think it's working. Yeah. Doing another stream today. Doing a photo session. So this time I'm not just aimlessly kind of wandering around doing God knows what. I think I'm going to do the full desktop this time. Just because you can't see my cursor if I just do the windows, and I think that's kind of important. So, and I'm pretty sure no one's going to be on here for the live stream to ask questions, just because super brand new to this, and it's kind of a shitty time. I actually didn't even post about it, so this is how fucking bad I am about this. Copy link. But it's been interesting because now I don't use music. I've got these available for DVR afterwards, so if you can't make it to see these live, no big deal. They're probably pretty rough anyways, but sorry, I can only do one thing at a time. I definitely should have done this before, but what can you do? Live now. Boom. All right. Yeah, so this is basically the process I go through. Like I was just rambling a second ago. I usually come at work sessions with some sort of intent. And seeing as I think the bulk of the people who follow me are from Instagram, I wanted to do something that's related to that. Unfortunately, you can see this little guy right here on the left. That's no good. This is my full drive. I've been just complaining about it to anyone who will listen, so I'm not going to do it. I do owe an apology to Capture One. I'm pretty sure, unless it dies on me today. I thought Capture One is what was dying, but it was my drives that weren't hooked up correctly. So getting that figured out. But for now, all I can do is just edit stuff that's local. So I'm kind of in a holding pattern, but this is the one exception where, I mean, this is basically shooting in 20. No, that's not right. There's a couple, I shot like through March a little bit, but in the last like 5-6 months, I literally haven't taken my camera out. I've been on a full contract, so haven't been shooting, but this is kind of the process that I go through. And I haven't really looked through these. I've like seen the thumbnails to make sure I kind of have everything. But basically this is when I went out, just kind of right out front here in Manhattan, and decided to do a little shooting, try to do a little bit of video, try and get my settings and play around with it. So yeah, if you're in here and you have any specific questions about what I'm doing, I'm going to try and talk through it, just kind of what I'm doing, things I'm seeing, just for the DVR portion of it. A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about, I'm hoping to do kind of just like short videos addressing or just kind of talking about some of the stuff that I think is important, but we'll see if it actually ever happens. I really don't know. So I did start messing around with video, and the problem with this in Capture One is that the playback is, I don't know what the frame rate is, to be entirely honest. But I mean, this is totally raw. I'll turn that audio off. So playing around like the horizon line, this is supposed to be 120 frames per second. So I think there's like moments like this where I can kind of slow it down and stabilize it, and then probably cut, just because could be like a cut transition to there. I'm trying to get like that underwater shot. The water clarity here is not great, but I mean, there's kind of some cool moments in it. I have no clue what I'm doing when it comes to video. I'm trying to get like 120 frames per second, trying to get waves going over, trying to get like these moments on the other side of waves, like when you're looking up. Again, slowed down, 120 frames per second. There could be nice moments to extract in here, but that's kind of not really what I wanted to do today. Oh, if Tyler ever sees this. So I went down with my buddy Tyler, and he went into surf, and I was supposed to shoot him, but he went way the hell down the beach, and there was a south swell, so it was just pulling constantly. Um, and yeah, this is like probably one of the best waves I've seen in the South Bay in a long time. And again, this is like evening time, and getting like clean conditions like this is not something that happens very often. It's like one of these Santa Ana conditions. Again, staying hydrated. That's a key part of photo editing. I'll go through those another time. I'm sure like the clips will start showing up eventually. But yeah, let's just get down to it. Why is there a picture of my bike? Well, I always do quick tests of everything in the housing. So the way the housing works, it's connected via USB. There's a couple pieces you have to put together, and sometimes the connection isn't always great. You kind of have to jiggle it a little bit, which isn't great. So I always test the focus, and then I also test to make sure it can capture. Let me make sure I got everything. Yeah. Oh, I dragged something around. What can you do? Yeah, making sure that the shutter will actuate, and also it helps just kind of like if you hear the right speed, it helps you kind of make sure that you have the right like continuous shooting speed set, because there's 3 different settings that you can do. So if you hear the right one just from them just snapping something, and it's always the most random shit. It's always just like truck, or now that I can just walk down, it's the inside. But let's just get into these. So it's unfortunate you can't see the keystrokes. So a lot of what I do is, so with Capture One, you can do a lot of tagging and keywords and shit like that, but I just really don't get into that. Basically for me, if I flag something as yellow, I think there's potential. Green is, it's edited, it's good to go, I like it. Red is red's kind of been shifting over the years. Red's been assigned to kind of experimental stuff, or stuff that either has or I've posted that I just don't like. And there's quite a lot of stuff that I've been flagging as red, especially with my promo. So this is like the whole repository for the screensaver. So all this stuff that's yellow, it's actually a little inflated because there's a lot of variants here. So I'll create multiple variants of one image. Some of them, I mean, will have 10 variants where I just never feel that I land somewhere good. But this is my way of knowing, like, hey, this is something with potential, like, come back to it at some point. And I just kind of have this really scattered approach where I have ADD and I don't really see things through very well. I'm sure there's some people who know me who are kind of laughing. Yeah, so that's what I'm basically going to be doing for this one. And I believe, God, it's been a while. I flag it. Okay, it's not. So you can see it's counting up on the yellows, but yeah, I mean, I flag stuff like this just because I think so half of water photography is just like happy accidents. Like you're going for something and it brings about just this kind of random like combination of water that's constantly moving, light being in the right place, the focus being right, where it's like, I don't know like if I can really do anything to this because it's a little too real with the bubbles, but it's kind of cool. So, and part of the problem for me is that I've gotten to a place with water photography where I don't know, I'm a little bored with it, to be entirely honest. So I actually really enjoy these like happy accidents and abstract moments where um, it's not expected. Like you literally couldn't plan this. Um, I'm going through and just deleting all these. And I know there's a lot of people who have told me in the past like they just can't go through and delete shit. And it's definitely a dangerous game. I go like if I'm left and I'm not doing a stream like this, I just fire through these. I can kind of tell pretty quickly like what has promise, like what you can extract out of these images. Like for me, this is like nothing. I think if I start editing this, like go bright, go dark, like it's just kind of whatever. So basically, this is me trying to. I take advantage of the continuous shooting, so I'll pull focus early. Like if there's a wave coming, or if there's someone surfing, like the front half of my sequence is usually trash. It's mostly, and I'm sure there's a more efficient way of doing it. I've just learned that, especially if you use stuff like center focus lock on, where it'll pick up a focal point from the center and then it will track it. Um, Controlling that focal point early is super important. Um, so that's basically what I'm doing. Is like I'm making sure that like this center focal point is what the camera is locking onto for focus. And focus, like I could go into a whole different thing about focus because that's probably what I've spent the most time um, most time kind of getting frustrated with, understanding when to use the right settings. And I'm sure everyone will have different opinions on how to do it, but for me, um, like I, yeah, you have to know what you're shooting and set it with intent because it's not always the easiest with the housings. Like even with the Aquatech that has a bunch of buttons on the back, like doing it out in the water is super frustrating. So this is still nothing deleting that. And like to me, like I've been trying to get these shots up close. Is there, I don't know if you can hear that. It sounds like kids dying outside. A lot of spoiled kids around here. Probably just to get a fucking candy bar or something. But yeah, I mean, like these moments where the lip starts getting thin is kind of where I think interesting shit starts happening. Um, like when the light starts coming through on these really clear days, and especially in LA where there's like no clean afternoons, like that I won't mark with anything. I'll just kind of keep it. And another good tip I found is to just kind of pan forward backwards through because with a lot of sequences, some of the images look the same, but there might be nuanced differences in terms of like, oh shit, like there's a bit more flaring of the water kind of coming up off the lip. Like that's something I can focus in on at some point. Um, but that's where some of these, like I still try and get pretty narrow. Like I'll start with 9, like I think right now, what do I have? 950. My target right now is probably, I would say 200 to 300, maybe. Um, but when I shoot a lot of these sequences, this is where it gets problematic and where I get bloat and I end up having more images because I'm really hesitant to delete delete a good image just because it's in a series of good images. Like there's really no point. Like I shouldn't be trashing images that maybe I find later like the framing's better in one of the ones that I kind of glossed over and didn't even flag. But yeah, enough about that. But I mean, even like with this, so this is like what's crazy about the A7R3. Like it will track a lip line that's flying at you, which is just bananas. So it's like still holding on to that focus of like the wall of water, but as long as I keep the lip somewhat in the center focus, like it's going to track it. And I don't know exactly how fast. I mean, I think waves go like 25 miles an hour, but I'm sure the lips are falling a lot faster. And like, look, like the fact that it tracked this is just stupid. Like, I'm I spent a lot of time with the A7R2 trying to get shots like this, but I just never was able to because the focus was just a little too slow. So it would start pulling focus from like back here. So that's where I think there's a little bit of interest left for me, is like pulling out some of these details. But yeah, they're getting a little few and far between. I think that's got some potential. No. What just happened? Oh. Got my old school alert sound going. And stuff like this where it gets really soft and I think it's refocused. It actually might not have refocused. It might still be on here. It's just the same distance. So some of these times, like this is where like a lot of the happy accidents happen. Like this should happen so fast, there's no way for you to plan it. But like, why not kind of embrace some of this? Is it not flagging it? Oh, it is. Boring. I mean, I've got tons of texture images. I mean, it's kind of cool, but I mean, the water clarity here is not, compared to Hawaii or Fiji, it's just, I don't know, I sound super fucking spoiled, probably because I am, but again, trying to get like these moments here where I think there's just like interesting shit starts happening. So I'm gonna mark that one for later. Mark that for later. I mean, it's better, but it's still not that interesting. Like this to me is a better version of this. Like this I could probably delete, because if I'm going for what's happening here, this is a better representation. And in some ways this is like another level better. I don't like that you can't see the lip line, but can't win them all. This might be my favorite one so far. And this is a total fucking accident. Another thing to consider, like for this was very specifically like, it was a calm day. I was going out at sunset. I knew there were waves. I knew I'd be shooting towards the sun a lot. So something to think about. Sony A7R3 has, I think most of the alpha cameras, probably all of them, have the adjustment on the exposure. So you can like shoot a stop down, and it's not going to fix shooting straight into the sun. Like I'm sure there's still, oh God, what is a shortcut for that? Nope. What is it? Exposure warning. Yeah. So there are tons of blowouts, but I think there's ways through the editing process to kind of soften it a little bit. Because I mean, technically it is, these are blowouts, but you can kind of salvage it a little bit. I don't know if I really want to start taking half measures and editing in line. But you can see like even just reducing down the highlights a little bit, it helps, but I personally, like, I don't like mashing the highlights. I think it's pretty obvious most times when people do it. I've just gone through like this huge arc of, like, to me, like I'd almost rather just lean into it and blow it out. That feels more natural than trying to like, is there a sun back there? Like, I don't fucking know what's going on. So yeah, and especially once I start getting into some of my editing, and the one film emulation thing I have is really about softening the highlights. And I can talk about kind of how I do that. Unfortunately, Capture One doesn't have a lot. I'm sure someone's going to call me out. It doesn't seem to have a lot that can do film emulation. I think Lightroom's actually better for it. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff that Lightroom's better at, but that's another story. God, I really wish this wasn't here, but this, I'll still flag it. Check it later. See, there you go. And by the way, like I'm not importing with any sort of settings or I mean this is like straight from the camera. Yeah, I'll get into that part later. I need to get through this. And see, this is where like I've started marking it, and I could start going from like a zoomed in grid. I used to do this, but I think there's certain things with focus that are like are super important and they're really hard to tell from here. Um, so I would probably advise going against or going with this sort of approach. Um, I mean, there are times I think like the bad part is that you may have to like go back, unflag something, reflag like the better version of it. It's all just trade-offs. I mean, there's so many different ways. Like I'm always adjusting my workflow. I think it's problematic. Let's see if this is in focus. This is probably the best one. But even if it's not tack sharp, like I'm actually not mad about that at all. It's always nice to start from like a sharp base because then you can kind of control where like the degradation and quality is happening, like how there's all of like the negative clarity stuff you can do with Lightroom, and you can do some of that in here. But if you start with a blurry image, you're kind of out of options. So yeah, it'd be nice, but I'm not gonna lose sleep on it. I mean, some of these textures are nice through here, but I mean, I've got a million similar to this. This is where, I mean, I'll just skip over it. Nope. Better water clarity, maybe there's something to this. But welcome to LA. I'm gonna skip it. There's kind of something to that. Nope. 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 As sort of, I do a lot of like playing around with horizon. So there's basically a technique you can do of, so the housings themselves are buoyant, and you can kind of just let it go a little bit and let it just bob on the horizon line. So basically the water line's like halfway through the port. And I'll literally just, like if I'm bored, like most of this is because I'm bored. Like there was such long time between sets and like I'm just trying to do something that's interesting. So what I'll do, especially with these clean conditions at sunset, is just like I'll just like bob and just like continuously shooting. So you'll probably see a lot of that through here. I like shooting a lot at waterline because I think there's a lot of things that start happening that I think become a lot more interesting than kind of the typical type stuff. I mean, everything's been done, and that's kind of what I'm running up to, anyways. So, and it's like getting into some of this abstract stuff. Like you can see some of the textures through there, which I think is nice, but it's just kind of like blurring it out. And this is, I mean, there's probably still a decent amount of water on the lens port, just because if you go back to here, so I'm like dunking it, and then I'm pulling it back up, and it's got that water on there, which is probably messing with the focus or the ability for it to focus on something, because everything's just kind of got this washed out nature to it. But then it starts picking it back up, and that's, to me, that's the most interesting shit. And it's so much luck. I mean, there's some photos. I guess I can pull them up. No, let's just do. Oh, offline, unfortunately. Let's see. I think it's posted. I don't know if this is going to even load. Hey. I think I have the chat working, so I can see there are some people in here. If you have questions, definitely feel free to ask, even if it's not related to what I'm doing right now. I mean, this is just time where I'm kind of working, kind of wanting to help answer any questions, because I do get a good bit of them. And I know I'm really, really shitty about answering, so I apologize. Kind of weird times. I mean, this is horizon line. This like lens flare happening there. I can't find the exact example I'm looking for, but I think you probably get the idea of what I'm going for or trying to articulate. Like, there's no sense in me kind of beating a dead horse. So yeah, to me, like, that's getting flagged. Probably not. No. I'm still doing like Lightroom shortcuts because it's hardwired. Again, like having these moments where everything's blurred out and just like something starts popping through, I can't plan for that. That's just going out and shooting a bunch. I like some of these, like, I don't know. I'm trying to get into a lot of stuff that's like shorter, that's closer to the lens and and I'm shooting like, well, I mean, you can really see it if you're looking for it, but I tend to shoot around like f7. I guess I'm really just going to give everything away at this point. F7 is, at least for my setup, to me, that's, if you shoot f2, like, I think you can get some beautiful stuff, and I still do from time to time, but I try not to, just because it's not the rate of attrition, the kind of balance of like your time and your output just really falls off a cliff, because you really got to get lucky in terms of like, what's in focus. Is it like the most interesting thing? So like you can get something cool in focus, but it's not the right thing. Sorry, there's kids outside my window. Old man shit over here. But you see a lot of people who like take focus, which is a whole different thing, which I tried once and I definitely failed. So deleting all these. Definitely another favorite. Definitely some potential. I've got a shot similar to this, but might as well keep it. Yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, I don't know how this stuff happens, man. Yeah. So this is where I'm like going through and I'm like flagging everything, which is kind of a problem, but a good problem, I guess. And I was also trying to do a lot of out of focus stuff, try and get stuff like this. I think it could work. It just needs to be a little bit better composed. I'll still flag it. God, if this was in focus, that would be good, but I'll still flag it. Delete. So this is like this is like the wave I showed in the video before, but like this is like not all time South Bay, but fuck, it's pretty close, man. Even though the fact like it is absolutely going to shut down in about 2 seconds, but these moments, like all you need is like a thousandth of a second. Like just crop that off right there, and like damn, South Bay is so much better than anywhere. Uncrowded, very fucking crowded this day. There's probably like 6 other people right behind me. There's people sitting way too far out trying to surf. I just don't know. I've got a million of these, but with stuff like this, you can kind of pull in on some of these details. I'm just gonna glance over them. I've got better versions of this, essentially. Although, like, how blown out that is starts feeling kind of nice. Same with this. This is where like I have so many that are so similar. It's like, which one do I choose? And it's kind of, I don't know. I started looking at like the horizon line's interesting. Is it really helping? Sort of like blocked off area. I'd already know. Probably this is better, but I don't know if it's as sharp. Boring. Maybe boring. See, so there's gonna be so many more of these too. Skip it. Oh, this is the same bobbing technique I was talking about. And this picking up, that makes it interesting to me. Composition just sucks. I was trying to get it like it being eclipsed kind of by the wave. Sometimes works. And also also not shooting absolutely everything into the sun. Like trying to pick up some of these moments with like the texture that happens. This is f4. So you can see like f4, like you start like how shallow the focus area is. Like it's like if you pick out like a bubble or something like that, that's yeah, like you're stoked you shot f4. But if you didn't, then you're kind of stuck with like these kind of, I don't know if androgynous is the right word, but I mean boring details, I guess. Like you got something in focus, but I don't know. Like to me, like this with like a little bit more depth and like getting the right moment, I think might be a little bit better. Oh, that's a little better. But again, like it's nothing really to get excited about. Deleting, delete. Trying to get the lip line again, pulling focus, and I dunked it too early. Great. So I'll make the big bucks. Save that one. Skip it. 2 out of focus. Yeah, take that. Again, this has been done so many times. Like, I still think there's something interesting about all this, but I mean, when you've got like 20 gig, not 20 gigs. I'm prone to exaggerate, I guess. It's just like, what's the point of having 10 of the same image? So then you start getting kind of jaded. And like, there's nice moments in these, but I don't know. I'll probably keep them. Just because you never know. Would have been good if it wasn't so blown out. This is where like I'll just start checking stuff, like what's gonna happen if I start getting into edits. I think like the minimalist, kind of like lowercase I going on here is interesting. If I start getting into, what the fuck is that cropped? Like, here's my grids I always use. So it's like, I'll start getting into like a couple quick edits here and there just to see if it's really worth it. What happened? So there's like no information down here. It's kind of interesting. There could be something to it. I'll probably mark it and just never touch it again. Again, it's probably going to feel really repetitive. But that's kind of the deal with these sort of shoots. Like, it's a lot of just like trying different things, seeing what sticks. Guess I'll leave it. No, like I'm already getting fed up with the same stuff. So I'm sorry, I'm like deleting all these. Overexposed, boring. Could be cropped to be okay. Nope, nope, nope. I mean, this is the deal shooting into the sun. Could get something good. It's still wild, like how much information you can get. But again, I'm shooting a stop down on this. So I probably get a little bit more information. Usually you kind of have to pull it up. I think this is, so if I go up one, I think that's pretty normal exposure throughout the rest of the image. But again, this would be what I'm working with, and like that's already, so if I go, that's the blowout if I shoot kind of naturally, not down a stop. That's it, down a stop. So again, it's not going to fix everything, but you might be doing yourself some favors. There's a lot. I don't know how loud the thunder and rain is, but I always have it on just because you live in Southern California, start missing rain because it doesn't fucking rain. Probably flag that. I think I got a ton of these. Yeah. So everyone's pants seem to get tight around here when they see a picture of the pier, so why not? I've been trying this for a while, but it's always, I'm usually on the other side of this pier in the morning shooting. So the fact that I was shooting from this direction with the sun not behind it, this is one of the few times I could actually shoot it from the water and have it be not kind of fighting the sun, properly lit. So lit. That's a little better. I mean, in terms of like a clean shot, like that's probably the best one. But again, getting into that same sort of like dunking technique, it's getting interesting, but it's just kind of, see, it starts doing like these stretches that get interesting and organic, and it's like there are literally people here who have made a living off of shooting the pier. So if you're not from here, it seems weird that I'm rattling on about this. Like, look up John Post. Technically, like a good photographer, it's like, but in terms of subject matter, it's the pier and lifeguard towers. But he's been a photographer. He's had a shop here for a long time, and that's because people buy it. So I don't know how many people will actually live here and buy this stuff, but I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to sell out a little bit. Nope. Kind of interesting, but just want to check something over here real fast. Okay. I think this is probably the winner right here. Oh shit. Just kidding. That is. See, it's too muddy. So what's nice is like you get some of that organic softness through here, but it's kind of sharp. Fuck. Ish. What's this? Nope. That's why I make the big bucks. Oh, fuck. Let's see, this is probably too far. I'll keep it just because. Nope. Something kind of nice about it being super blurry. But it's really kind of just like picking a lane. Yeah, a little dark. Good stuff. So this is where it's like the meterings just can't keep up with like the continuous shutter speed. So it went from being fully submerged to out of water. So usually you'll have a little bit of latency before it kind of checks it. I think I have continuous metering. should. See, this kind of stuff, like if you're right there, like that's the shit I'm interested in. But this is why I got a 70 to 200 lens. But the focus speed on that is a joke. I thought I was gonna start getting a lot of like macro type stuff, but it's absolutely useless. It's good for like, I think the only conditions it's good for is like a long point break, where stuff could happen all over the place, but it's predictable. That's the only way. I don't know how anyone else uses it. I'd be curious, because I spent money on a port, and I've used it once, and I don't think I got one usable shot. So, if you want to buy a port, 70 to 200, Sony, Aquatech. I know a guy. See why this is blurry at 5,000 of a second. I don't know. Yeah, it's just not there. See, what helps with this is like it gives a little bit more contrast for the autofocus to pick up on. So first one was out of focus and this one's getting better. Imagine the next one. Yeah, I mean, it's locked on here. Just because there's more contrast, but I mean, there's times it'll pick this up, but I think this might be too close. But just like some of these like windows, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff happening with this too, but I think just the interplay of focus is super interesting. If you start getting stuff cropped to the corners, I mean, to me, this already is a lot better. I'm like OCD about alignments and proportions and stuff like that. So the fact that this lip line kind of happens at the bottom 2/3 is the wave, and the top third's the sky. Kind of like it. Do I wish I could pull in on this more? Yes, absolutely. I would do a shot just of this if I had. I could probably do an Instagram post of it, but even then I don't like punching in that much, because then I can't do anything with it. It's like, and that's where it's like, what's the point of Instagram? Am I trying to post prints, or am I trying to post just cool shit? I may make a variant of this and just like do something like that, but I don't know. We'll see. Yep. So this is, yeah, it's like the same as before, but I don't think it's as sharp or clear. Yeah. That's where I'll keep it, but don't really need it. And so I think this is actually the shot that I hope I got at least one. Crop that nerd out. Yeah, like as the sun starts getting lower, like I think it's actually earlier, like when the wave is forming, like it creates this progressive ramp where it doesn't block it off as much, and it just kind of shows through. But I tried to get that. I haven't been through these, so I don't know if I did or not. Leads. I'm deleting all of these. And this is kind of like pushing to high tide, so it would look like it would break and want to do something like right in the right spot, and then it just backs off. All right. Not terrible. I guess I'll keep it. Nope. I just say assume I'm deleting it if I don't say anything about it. So this is one I was like really trying to get it centered and cresting. It's kind of hard to be super precise with the housing. That's why if you see people shooting film, why is this cropping in? This is so strange. If you see people shooting film and getting really crazy results, like they're either really lucky or they put in a lot of time. Because so much of this is just a numbers game. It's crazy. I'm just skipping these. Nope. See, this is what I want to get into. But I don't think this is not the image. This is what will keep me coming back into the water for a little while. Once I get these, like, I don't know. Because right now I'm trying to figure out the balance of, like, how close do I try and shoot it? Do I try and pull in a lot with zoom? Do I... Because then if you pull it in, like, I don't know how the focus reacts. Whereas, like, if you have a wide shot... so I'm probably going to be shooting, like, somewhere between, like, F7 to F10. It's kind of the sweet spot. F2, again, like I mentioned, like, I'm not there yet. I can't figure out F7, like, I can't do F2. Unless I get really lucky, which, I mean, half of this you've seen so far is a good bit of luck. But yeah, it's like, do I need to be closer? Do I need to be further away? Like, you get too close, then if, like, there is a window, like a focal range, and it gets too close, and, like, no matter how close you get, it's no good. So, ideally, I think it's somewhere in the middle. But this is something I'm still trying to figure out, so I'm probably not the one to be giving advice on that. And I think there's something to the crop. I'm like picking out the details and the contrast of what's in focus, what's out of focus. Yeah, I mean, lips aligning here. This is cutting off at the halfway point. It's a little high. This is where sometimes, like, I'll actually hate the rotate tool in this. It just, no. You fuck. So I think it's crop, rotate. Yeah. This is where I'll probably, so I can get that at the halfway point. This is the third. And this is just like OCD for no fucking reason. Like, I like the consistency because I think, like, if you start doing stuff on proportions, like, looked at kind of enough together, like, on my grid, you'll see stuff in Instagram that just, like, lines up. And that's just because I'm following this grid. And I think I've done it enough where I believe in it and see the value in it. Otherwise, like, I'm forcing crops that maybe I don't have to. But, you know, I do all this kind of weird process stuff. Yeah. And then find out that I was just really not helping myself. I established these really weird, like, hard and fast rules, and I think it's super important to have them, but be ready to question them, like, and be ready to be wrong. I mean, this has happened in design career too, but just debating something, having a strong opinion about something, like, just make sure you've done your homework on it if you're gonna have a strong opinion. And at the same time, like, yeah, it sucks. Like, you did a lot of work kind of figuring out what you thought was right, but it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you just had no idea. Oh, fuck. Favorite. And again, 1000% luck. fact that the surface is tack sharp. There's bubbles coming up from the housing. Just there's different things you can do in terms of like pointing the camera up, and you can kind of create bubbles in certain ways. But I don't have that down low enough where I actually want to speak to it. But yeah, this is probably my favorite so far. Or maybe this one. I don't know. These are wild. Delete. And yeah, this is getting closer towards that like ramp, but it's not timed properly. Where like you don't see the harsh sun, but you see the color going up. But clearly this is too late. I'll keep it, but you can see all like the lines from the sun coming through, which is kind of cool. Is that a... Oh, I don't think... It gets closer to sunset. I start shooting like F. Well, right before it get dark, I tried doing some drags, and you'll see how dirty my port is. So I remember seeing it out in the water. If you could see it in the viewport, or like the viewfinder, how dirty it is, you're fucked. You're gonna have to do some cleanup. So I warned you. Yep. It's almost, it's so close, but it's just not right. I'd say you could probably edit that into something. This, just gonna delete. I don't know, I'll leave them. But like when it gets this oily in texture, like you start editing this, like it looks fake as soon as you touch it, even before you touch it. But depending on like how far you want to push it, you can get some crazy textures and shit going on. And alright, just checking something. Again, some of these details, like that's, I wish I was right here with my camera looking right there, but fuck. This, I want a close-up of that. That's all I'm after. Yeah, this might be one of the better wave sequences. I mean, this is sharp. So sometimes if I'm doing like the bobbing and weaving, one thing you have to think about when you shoot is how much water you have on the lens port. Basically, to keep it from getting all muddied up, you have to lick it or spit on it or do something because it creates like this membrane. There are some people who shoot, this all sounds really strange just saying, shoot dry. They'll put wax or candle wax they'll rub on there so the water beads off, and then they'll have like a squeegee and they'll clean it. I just don't like the idea of rubbing wax on a lens port, especially if sand gets in there, or just to me like that's gonna fuck with the clarity, but apparently it works. I don't know. I guess if you rub it in enough, there isn't any of that texture in there, but I don't know. So for me, like I shoot wet, so periodically when you're out there, you have to lick it, which is weird, especially if you live in LA and how shitty the water quality is. You're licking some strange water. But basically you have to plan it so you pull it out of the water with enough time. There's like a window, so you pull it out, water's on there, and the water adheres to the kind of mucus that you have on the port, and it progressively dries off. And depending on how long you do it, I don't know what the exact time is, but it's somewhere between probably like it's probably like 2 seconds after you take it out of the water up until like 6 to 8 seconds maybe. I'm probably gonna get called out because I could be very wrong, but I just know like that's kind of like the sweet spot. And if you keep going past that, like you're bound to get like places where the water, because it's all just like cohesion. Like the water will drip, and then you'll have like a spot in the middle where it's just ran out of water, and it's kind of like an amoeba on your lens. So you'll just get like these weird sort of shapes going through there. But yeah, that's a good tangent. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious where this is going to go. I don't know if I like it. I mean, it's definitely interesting. I think I have better ones of this. I think this is more interesting. That kind of has a lot of feel to it. That doesn't. That does. Oh, man. I think the novelty of shooting in these type of conditions that just don't happen in LA. Like getting sunset. Oh, this is lagging behind. I wonder if I'm dropping frames or anything. Hopefully the quality's good. I don't know if there's anyone in the chat. It doesn't say I'm dropping frames or anything yet. I don't know if audio's good. I have no idea. No idea what I'm doing. But yeah, need to flag that. Nope. I need to flag. Can't. Stupid. Deleting. Nope. Actually, this is probably the best one so far, like the ramp going up. Nope. There's like a weird smoky haze, so it actually kind of softens some of these out. I remember definitely trying to shoot a couple. And again, this is where like the focus settings, like I wasn't really planning on shooting this, and getting the right focus on them is kind of tough. Depending, like I think I have like a small spot, might be medium, in which case this makes sense. But just like the colors that you can apply to this, I think centering, like recropping a little bit, just kind of has like a big feeling to it. This too blown out. That's okay. That. Fuck. Computer's chugging right now. I don't know what's going on. OBS doing its thing. Plugin host. I do have a problem with Capture One. That's not my hard drives. The plugin host just starts what it's doing. Like times out, and then it just eats up 100% CPU. Great. This doesn't seem any faster. Again, this is going for those sort of moments in the lip. So we kind of have to like just jump with it. This is where like it could have been cool if I got this right, but it's still stuck down here. Probably this asshole Messed up my focus, buddy. Yep. One thing I haven't quite figured out, it's better, figuring out how to intentionally shoot out of focus with my housing, at least. Easy to do when you're out of the housing, but in housing, it constantly wants to pull focus. I don't know if it's just the way the triggers on the housing are set up, but yeah, I cannot, like, because I'd like to just get like a blurry out of focus into the sun, the water less out of focus, but the sun just totally just blur. But I don't think I got anything this time. This is getting. It's getting there. I don't think it's anything worth sharing, but yeah, tried. Dirty Valley water. Where do we have to go? Could it be? Nope. It's still stuck down here. Further back. You really get one shot. And it's, you try and get your focus right, some of it's just good luck. So much slower. All right, maybe something. Let's go the lip line. It's stuck back here. Not terrible, kind of boring. Oh, that's a fucking trip. What? Oh, that shit's in focus. Man, it's centered. Sometimes you don't ask questions. Yeah, got some similar ones. This is where, like, I had people just trying to take off everywhere, and there's literally no breaks in people. After COVID, everyone wants to surf after they couldn't. It's great. Colors and focus is good. Terrible. Is worth looking at. So pitted. This is where, like, I usually just crop that out and just take away a frame of reference. I mean, I'd probably crop in more because I think that starts contextualizing things too much. It's on the edge. There's something cool about it. Walking over and it's at the third too, right there. Look at that later. Yeah. That's just a trip. Another shot I've been going for, but not quite there. Having the sun just kind of blasting through off in the distance a little bit, but these are kind of cool. Alright, I think we're making some progress. This is where a while, like after a while, it starts getting like a little bit of fatigue. I mean, granted, it's nice that there's some decent ones in here, but after a while, like if it's very similar conditions and like if I'm not shooting someone out in the water, like it's just boring. I guess you could you could make a not really. Could be a nice ramp, just color exploration, but probably better like that. Yeah, like that too. I don't even know. I like it. Would be nice. There's something interesting there, but oh. Yeah, it's not bad. Take that guy out. But again, this is like dime a dozen. So right there. I guess it's really just not that sharp. Terrible. Fuck. That's a long way to punch in. I don't know about that. I mean, it is sharp, but I'd find it my way. No. I'll leave it for now, but hey, go. That's getting there. That's pretty close. It's not bad. gonna try and pick this up a little bit. I am just, if I'm bored, I can only imagine how other people are feeling. How the fuck do I rotate? God damn it. Only combination I didn't try. Good. Yep. Yep, this fucking thing. I don't even know if that's sensor, or if that's lens, or if that's port. I'm guessing port. I looked at the sensor. Proudest moment. Look at that fucking thing. Again, this is straight out of camera. Could be some work. Do that one. And this one. So fucking close. Snooze fest. Sorry, this is. I'm trying to shoot out of focus, and it actually is kind of working. I don't know what I did there, but. I can't unsee that fucking. It's not bad. Another. Mm-hmm. You guys ready to see sunset pictures for a while? Problem is, I don't like posting a ton of them together. A lot of these you might not see for a while. Oh, fucking hair on my sensor. Jesus. See, this is where the light's shifting. I've been much worse about it before, but learning when, like, paying attention to your shutter speed. And the problem is like when the wave comes, you're in the shadows. So you might be just sitting out there and metering and just kind of like looking around. It's like, yeah, all right, I'm at like plus 1,000, like I'm faster than 1,000th of a second. But when a wave comes, you're in the shadows and like it dips down to 1/640th, which is not terrible, but I mean, you might start losing details in some of these kind of lip line elements. Like those are, well, you have to be faster than 1,000th of a second if you really want those. You want them to be sharp. I mean, this could have been nice, just straight line, but I just don't think it's there. Maybe. Maybe this is helping demystify a lot of shots that are on Instagram where it's just like sunset along the water. It's like go out on a calm day at sunset and you could probably get a ton of them. I remember this. This is where I'm trying to just pick up the texture. I think it lends itself to blurring out some of the other stuff. Because if it's getting darker, you're gonna have to open up the aperture more. So I mean, f10's not that sharp, but I mean the fact that you can start picking up some of these details and then just really losing everything in the background, I'm pretty happy with that one. Kind of this whole series, and it's kind of like you have to be worried, or not, you don't have to worry about it, but you have to be aware of kind of like how you're affecting the water around it. Like some of the shit you can just like create if you are wearing fins and you want to just like. I think with this I'm more shooting down, so I can't do it as easily. But if you can just like wave your arm under the water, you can do shit to like kind of cheat it, because this is like pretty disturbed water on a pretty calm day. So. Yeah, I mean, ideally it's a little bit more kind of undulating. I think this is a little too textured for what, at least for what I'm looking for. I'd rather it be a little more simple. Not what I expected to see. Still deleting. See how to focus one. Good there. We have to be close. Good Lord, no way. What? Fuck. Where are we? maybe faster. Less talking. Going for texture. Okay. Yeah, color's getting better. So I was wrong. Yeah, this is when the color's better for that. Ramp up to the waves. So it's gonna be more editing to get it right. Fucking blew it. Why? This is when you're like holding it up and like the waves almost it might land on the lens port. Yeah. It's just like the wave is literally hitting on the front of your camera. And you're like kind of going under. You don't want to just get smacked in the head because that sucks. But at the same time, you'd like to not blow shots like this. Even though the shutter speed's way too slow anyways. And so you can see how like I'm ramping up the ISO. I'm trying not to do it. Although I used to be like, I need to shoot at 50 ISO, but you really don't need to. I've started embracing grain, so maybe I don't add as much grain afterwards, or there's ways around it. I mean, I think it's still a nice shot, but it could have been a lot fucking better. It's down 3/20th of a second. Abstract. I don't know. Yep. Fire beam through board. Oh, I started doing shutter drags. So, it's only 100th of a second. But you can see, like, if you dip down to 100th of a second, like how dramatically things start changing. Like you stop losing anything that's tack sharp. Why am I at 80th of a second? This is really stupid. Still sitting at 160 ISO. I need to get some nice texture off of that, but this is where like you just always have to look. Because look, I'm about to, well, no, I guess I did mean to do it. 20 or like F20. So you can still get the colors, but you can have the slower drag. I mean, it'd be nice if that was either cleanly streaking or sharp, but it is neither. Maybe, possibly. I mean, I'm not mad about those textures. It's not tack sharp. Like you can definitely tell when you get into some of these like squiggles and all this, the sun reflecting off all the water in all these different directions. Like it's not bad. It's just maybe not as defined. This is something with I don't add clarity. I reduce clarity if anything. But that's not a flex or anything. It's just personal preference and style. It's kind of cool. But there's, I mean, you can kind of like create color contrast, ways of kind of bringing that out without adding clarity. Like I want to be able to tell you to not use clarity because I think it's a bad idea, but it's a to each your own type of thing. This is But I think negative clarity or added clarity and structure, just you can see it from a million miles away. It's like, please, 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 please don't do it. See the beauty like of this capture one, like it is literally this simple. Is it sharp? Pretty sharp. So you can see like, I mean, I'm over 100%. I don't know. Yeah, I'm at 400% right now. But man, it would be awesome to just get like a punched in version, like just those textures. But again, that's a little far. There may be something coming up that mark that. I did not. I always hate doing drags when I'm out there, but I always love the results. It's a weird love-hate. It hurts. Yeah, very nice. But I think this is, yeah, you can see like where the water is moving slower. You know, this is 100%. Like this one's actually in focus compared to some of the other ones. But yeah, like having clean days like this, I think the window's kind of starting to open for non-shitty winds in LA, but they feel like such a rarity that you want to take advantage of them. And so when you go out and you're shooting these drags, like usually the success rate's pretty low on those. So it feels like you're wasting good conditions, especially when it's like this sort of like tons of color with the haze and the smoke, clean conditions. There's actually waves. I wish there were a lot less assholes out here. And I mean, again, this is, I don't do a lot of like editing and doctoring, but I will remove people just because like that's not a unreasonable expectation that like these nerds wouldn't be sitting here on their soft tops. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Said I was going through these quickly, and I am not. So many of these. Why not? There are sunset pure pictures. Such a fucking sellout. Oh, this is like, this is so close. Two problems. This water level is lower and these fucking bubbles were in here, but there's no way to control that. I'm sure if you've never seen raw output from a water shoot at sunset, you're probably bored of this too by now. Probably shouldn't whistle. I'm really shitty at it. Fuck, it's so close. Oh. Oh. Fix it in post. Yeah, so this is where you get like some of these lines lifting from the water in the port. So you're getting all sorts of movement. I can't explain like the physics behind the water on there and why it's doing that, but even with this guy, like it's in focus. You see the edge, but you have like these weird ghostings. Something kind of nice about it. Oh, this one's better. Still not deleting these. I mean, this could be the one. This is where it's so tempting to just start deleting, but gotta fight it. All right to hold on to some pictures. I deleted these, but it could be something to them. And so when this shit gets into like really inopportune areas, that's when it sucks. Not that this is a great photo, but it's just like that's happening in a precarious position. It's not bad. Out. Yeah, it's fucking stupid. Drag. Not. This is shooting F9. This is like the really shitty middle ground where it just sucks. It's not a drag, it's not sharp, this is a blurry fucking photo. So enough of this. I tried doing a couple like horizon pans. Actually, it didn't look this good on the viewfinder. But you can see like I've been out of the water too long, so you start seeing like beating, and especially at f22, like if there's something on your lens, like you are gonna see it. So I mean, this is about as sharp as I think that thing's been. Again, easy to clean up. You start upping contrast, like you really start seeing there's a lot of fucking work to be done on this. I don't know how much of that's sensor, how much of that's on the port. Usually like water on the port doesn't look like that. I think that's a dirty sensor, and that's not good. I've been putting off cleaning it for a while. These actually turned out better than I thought they did. That's just blurry. Right in the sun. Good. Great. Yep. This is what I was going for the most part. Just colors. And like this, like the second you touch this stuff with any sort of editing, like it looks fake. Is that the same? No, that's the same one. Like these gradations just don't make sense. So when you start like fucking around with it, look good. Texture, bubbles, hairs. You're not in focus, you fuck. This is one that got away. I mean, this is exactly what I was hoping for. It would be nice if some of this shit was in focus. Either fully out of focus or in focus. I'll probably take these out, to be entirely honest. I think if you just, we'll do a gross fix. Wow, really gross fix. Kids, don't fucking do this. Yeah, my brush isn't soft enough. At all. But you can see, like, that's already, like, that's the other thing I will do. Like, if there's just, like, random water bubbles that are distracting, like, I don't think it's embellishing that much if you take them out. I think if it's, like, just crazy clean and like it doesn't exist, like I just happen to not capture it at the right exact moment where these bubbles just burst like a quarter of a second later, like that's within the realm of possibility. And this could all be just mental gymnastics to kind of convince myself that what I'm doing is all right. Let's see, I should probably turn a light on. Go. Yeah, take these nerds out. I got a decent shot. Oh, wild. So as far as like sunset shoots go, this was not bad. I'm pretty happy with some of the results from this one. Fuck, like that's such a wild. This is one like get me on a couple edibles and we'll get really weird edits on this. I don't know, that framing is just wild. I like that. Man, it's dark. God, we're still not done. I am getting another beer, but we're gonna get through this shit. Oh, this one's super close. Yeah. Yep. Yep. How this guy's in focus, I legitimately can't tell you right now. I don't know how it locked onto him and how all of this is just like a smooth gradation. Like, I just don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people losing respect. It just sounds like I just... I just hammer the shutter and pray something comes out. I think that's half of it, to be fair. Oh man, there's probably so many of these blown out ones I deleted that I still have to go back through. Fuck. Caesar. Fuck you, Bubbles. Did I say fuck you, Bubbles? It's close, but it's just the composition's just so weird, but no. It is so close to being in focus. It's like 2 more bubbles and that fucker's in focus, but I mean, it's like almost on the thirds. Nope, that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't know. Let's see. That's just, it's kind of nice, but kind of just like a really random sort of like correlation. Is it? It's almost there. But again, these are like, if you browse around on Instagram for 5 minutes, like you're probably going to come across 20 of these shots. And that's what I want to avoid. I think it was a good thing for me to check it off and have these shots, understand how it's done. But past that, like I think it's just really lost its allure and value to me. Oh man. See, that's just, yeah. No good. God, I'm so done with this. Great bubbles. Knock off. Nice wave, just no light. Like, oh, when it's over. Oh my god. See, this is when I decided to just hammer the ISO. I'm getting this at a 4,000th of a second. This dark, F3. Kind of worked. But I mean, you'll see the grain. Not really, actually. You will if you get into it. But there's so much going on, like you're just not going to notice it that much. If it's like a smooth gradient, yeah, you're going to have a problem with it. So I think my target of 200 is going to be because ambitious. There's too many close but not quites that I didn't want to delete. I'll see how I love these. It's like double exposure. Yep, just abstract. Stuff where you can see, you know what it is, but it's not totally clear what's going on. I don't like those. Someday I'm gonna get one of those foamy ones. Good, but I just have not. Horizon texture. Holy fuck, we made it. Usually what I will do, so we got down to 457, 504 in the trash. Usually I'll go through and double check these to make sure I didn't accidentally mark something. There are things I'm worried about having glossed over. Some of these really overexposed ones, just going down a stop, actually, like it's not that bad. I'm gonna do that another time. It's usually like I'll try and clear our hard drive space as soon as I can. So, so we have our folder, have all our our flagged ones, and then start doing a little editing. How long that it does? 6:30. Holy fuck! Oh man. 1 hour 45 of just filtering through. Oh my god. All right, gonna get through some edits. My goal is to post something. I'll probably jump to 1 or 2 that I'm thinking of. That could be nice, but I will be right back. Just gonna refill and get jamming on some edits. All right. Make sure this enough light in here. So no really shitty lights. I can't believe that was 1 hour 45 minutes. This is where I just get sucked in and I lose track of time. I probably would have given up a little while ago, if I'm being entirely honest. I just, especially with something like this where it's just like such a very specific kind of shoot. But we made it. All right, I'm gonna get my base edit. So I talked about it in one of the previous ones. For some reason, this is the photo I have where I do a lot of my base edits in terms of like levels. I bring the highlights down, I up the exposure, usually because I'm shooting down a stop. So I shot down a stop for this, for the sunset, knowing I was shooting to the sun, but I pretty much always do, because you can recover shadows a lot easier than you can recover highlights. Like once you're blown out, you're kind of fucked. Unless you just want to lean into it, like I think I will be on some of these. But there was some in here, some of this shit that I think is really cool. So already, so this is with it pasted, so see there's a little bit of grain added. There's a film highlights. I guess I'll just get into what this is. So this is so it's a negative clarity, negative structure. Here's my cursor. But it's only applied to a very specific luma range. So this is for the highlights. So this is something like you see with film. Like film tends to kind of have like a glow to it, and I rather like that. So what I end up doing is I have this copy and paste because with Capture One you have presets, but they don't allow for additional adjustment layers, and especially like the naming structure of them or the luma ranges applied to them. As far as I know, I put in a feature request for it a long time ago, but I haven't seen anything from it. So I like having these nice and layered and named, and I like the fact that like, all right, I'm targeting the highlights. That's already set. Um, Sometimes like I've been really bad about like actually applying it properly. So if you turn the display mask on, like it's really just showing the bits that are being affected by this. So to me, with an image like this, like I'd like to move it down a little bit and get maybe more of a fall off. Um, I just think it kind of just gives it a nice like soft feel. Um, just something I've come to like over the years, and it might be something I just changed with time. Like I just find that I don't really like it. Um, but I'm probably gonna have to go back and mess that again because I think I kind of want to lean into the brighter aspect of this. Um, so if I start pushing the highlights a little bit, see if you start pushing shadows, like I think it loses some of that like dynamic nature to it. Um, I'm sure if you watch the last couple streams, it seems like I'm always drinking beer, but it's Sunday. Um, it's Sunday. Yeah, probably fourth beer I've had this week, but so don't fucking judge me, all right? So you can see that's starting to blow out quite a lot. Again, if you have questions, I think there's people here. I don't know how accurate this is. It tends to inflate it sometimes, but feel free to talk about anything editing related. I would like to get something out. Gotta hit that prime time, you know? Speaking of prime time, I know this is Laker games going on right now. I think I should check the score of that. I'm guilty. I'm a fair weather fan. I grew up on Laker games, but oh shit, it is not that close. Okay. Gotta know who I'm competing against for ratings. Ah, God, I'm stupid. All right. So, I mean, this is kind of getting to a spot where I like some of like the fall off and the darkness going on. I don't even feel the need to really adjust this too much. Feels like it's got a nice balance. Like if you start going too much into one side, you start feeling like you're. It's definitely underwater, but it's nice having like the tonal balance. Like I think even getting a little bit warmer because you still have the blues through here, and then tint. Tint's something I've been changing a lot lately. I think it's interesting to bring more greens into the mix, but again, like this is just high level global application of color. Start getting into color balance. Again, like I'm still, I don't know if I was talking about it in the last one. I'm still kind of torn on like if this is like the best way to do it. I don't really have a great way of like process and flow in terms of like, all right, this and this and this. So it's definitely like getting exposure right, getting the general white balance right, starting to fuck around with the high dynamic range. Levels is something I've started getting into more, but like levels. So levels like RGB I'll use a lot, but the individuals like I usually like I don't know what I'm gonna get sometimes. I mean, sometimes it makes kind of nicer. Um, I don't know, nicer color compositions, but to me, this is more intuitive. Like, so getting like the midtones, like, all right, what am I going for in the midtones? To me, and again, like this is, I have an idea going into it, but it's not always what I end up coming out with. Like to me, it's like kind of like this midtones are kind of like the transitions from this highlight of the sun to like the blues in the water. But I mean, I'm gravitating towards like almost purple, which again starts just working against the green tint that I put on earlier. But it feels right. Like this feels more balanced. And that's what's nice about like these color wheels is like you can create a lot of smoothness through here that maybe you can't in Lightroom. And so now I can go in and start fucking around with the highlights. And again, it's like with everything, you kind of ratchet it up to 12 and then you just walk it back. I don't think you should ever turn it up to 11, so to speak. And then master, I've heard different things on how you should be utilizing master. I've heard some people say you should use it for color correction, like because I think adjusting the temperature and tint is one way of color correcting, but you can kind of sometimes you get, I don't know, odd coloration to your images and you want to offset it. Like if you have, I don't know, let's say you have like some red tint, like you can bring in some like teal to green to offset it. So that's definitely a little bit more unique to the color balance versus like the global white balance. But again, it's like sometimes I'll start fucking around with the master like color balance and then come back up here and find out like, well, maybe I'm just fighting something for some reason and it seems really stupid. So you kind of create these tug of wars between like, all right, I'm adding shadow, I'm adding blue shadows, I'm adding blue midtones. Like, why don't I just make the white balance more blue? But sometimes it doesn't always work out, and like this is, I don't know. There might be a lot of people just disappointed that I just operate on feel. Like I don't really think you should have to be so structured about this. I think there's a lot of things I'm very structured with, but there's a lot of things I'm not. Like I'd rather go on feel and like this is why I don't edit in series, where I'm not very good at it. Because I don't use presets and I just like it's kind of wherever my eye is in the moment is kind of where things end up going. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's I don't know. Keeps things interesting, I guess. So then there's the additional color editor here. So this is again where I think Capture One has a leg up on Lightroom. But again, like this is like, is this a good thing at the end of the day? Like maybe this is too much control for me, and I'm not quite ready for it. Because I think it lets you just individually like pull things in very specific directions, and you start losing like the cohesion. Let's see if I can pull it. Well, I don't have my Lightroom catalog. I could go. Let's see. Nope, that's Capture One. Chrome. Oh, I got it. What? It's Chrome. Oh, it's down there. Wait, what? Why is it showing ESPN? Oh, it's not. By the way, thumbnail or wallpapers are up. I haven't really been promoting it. I I did mean to talk about this earlier, but here's a great reminder. $1.99. What a deal. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. Oh, what? See. Nope. Nope. Don't do that. Looks at the layout. But I mean, so everything on my site right now is all Lightroom edits. And I see some things on here that I just don't think I do as well on, oh my God, on Capture One. There's a couple very specific examples, and I don't know why I can't find them. Where the fuck is everything? This website I only spent like 5 minutes on. God, it's not centered. Oh, I should have looked at this. I mean, I think a lot of this C stuff. This is not. This is not working. I just updated my site and it is not. It is not good. Fuck, where's... Oh, this one specifically. To me, like, how it's edited in Capture One is just not... doesn't compare. Like, I think the way everything's pulled together, it just works so much better. I can't really explain it. So yeah, that's where it's like, I don't have the ability. I mean, you can do selective color in Lightroom, but I think they have like a really tight kind of control over how much you can push and pull that. Let's go full desktop. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. Everyone loves to crow about like their tools that they use. I really, don't care. At the end of the day, to me, like I think the way I'm just so all over the map, like it might Capture One and all the specific controls might be too much for me. It's just like I go off the rails, like, and I can't help myself. Possibility. I mean, I don't know if it's a thought I have. Let's go there. So apparently there's no blue pixels anywhere. Who knew? Deal. Why? This is where it's kind of getting like an ethereal, dreamy sort of feel. See, after all that, I haven't even touched the curves yet. I mean, I touched RGB, but I do tend to fuck around a lot, especially with the red. I like bumping in red. I'm just curious. No, that's not it. Is that really what it looks like? I mean, this could be one that's just like looks good up close, but just doesn't work for Instagram. That's definitely a possibility. I'm pretty happy with this, to be entirely honest. I'll probably hate it in a week. Talk to me then. Let's take radius. I think it might be too much. This helps, like, kind of soften the blowouts through here. Is the crop what I want? The fact the sun's not centered kind of bothers me. It's kind of like a weird tension. It's close. I just look for alignments and all sorts of shit. And I almost can promise you no one else sees it, but yeah, I'm not terribly mad at this. For now, I'll at least put in the screensaver and the Apple TV app. So this is the way. Maybe my brother did this, so maybe it's proprietary. It's definitely not, but basically there's a JSON file that reads different tags that are associated with categories. So there's no categorization on the Apple TV app, but on the screensaver there is. So as long as I tag it with something along these lines, like if you check that box, it'll show up. So I think that's it. And then I go, let's see, wallpapers. Oh. So then, CyberDuck, FTP program. So I've got my S3, you can see all the files. Oh shit. Well, this is Capture One's plugins not being happy. Should probably screenshot that. And so right now I don't know what's going on, but it has to go through some additional timeout process. And you can see, so I have my wallpapers. So I have a color coding system too. So like this needs to be re-edited. This is not good. I don't know what I was on when I edited that one, but everything green's good. Everything that's red is not posted, needs work. There's the other like hardware acceleration problem, but that's worried with that. Clear, close. I don't know if this is going to start back up. I don't think it is. Quit it, reopen it real fast. Good time for a beer. Questions, if you have them, I'm telling you. Hopefully this is somewhat useful. I can very easily go off the rails if I'm left to my own devices. I don't know if it's a good thing that there's no one here to kind of check me. Oh, optimize. See, that's so if you don't have JPEG Mini, can't recommend it enough. It cuts file sizes by. So this is what it is without it. So the plugin basically timed out, so it didn't function. So it didn't optimize the image. And you can see that's at 8.2 megabytes versus, let's see what it spits it out at now. 1.6. So, I mean, the savings are, what a deal. I mean, I'm cycling between these right now. You can see up top, there's literally no degradation quality that I can see. It's impressive. How it cuts it in like a fourth, I don't know. There is I think there's a plugin for Lightroom, and then there's a standalone JPEG Mini Pro. So anytime you're adding like anything you make in Photoshop, whatever, like Save for Web usually works pretty well, but I'll run it through here just in case. And sometimes it doesn't come back with much. Sometimes it does. But it's one of those things like where you just want to be as kind of optimized as possible, especially if you have like a site where you have tons of images. Like you're going to feel it, or your your viewers are going to feel it if you don't have your images optimized. Where the fuck is my base? All right, so that one might get posted right now. Let's see. Giving away all my spots. Right. Oh, this is test to see if it was just capture when that was broken. So when that's good, mark it green. So then everything that makes its way through is green. And I don't think I touched on everything that's going on in there because there's some stuff, clarity, grain, whatever, that's all automated with my prefab, whatever you want to call it. I still have, so I'm pasting it right now. Grain, clarity, highlights, that sort of shit. Something undeniably interesting about that, but I don't think that's what I'm gonna post. I mean, I'm kind of happy with that other one. I might, so I'll just go through the process of how I post it. So I have a template that I created in Sketch, and it basically uses a very simple symbol where all I have to do is I choose the image, get modified. I don't know why that's in there. There's my image. There it is. And sometimes, like if I'm trying to do, like Instagram usually gets its own sort of crop, typically. I think there's crops that work better for like the screensaver. Like if there's a smaller focus, I think it like if it basically needs a bigger screen in order for it to be kind of taken in the way it needs to be. So a lot of times, like I'll pull images over here, I'll make a copy, I detach it from the master. It's kind of an annoying little process, but so like let's say I just wanted to pull in, it's all filtering off like a mask. I don't want to do it with this image, but that's kind of how I get a lot of questions about what I use for my template. So all I have to do is 1x, export, desktop, overwrite. And I have my phone here. And airdrop, desktop. Shows up. Let's do this real fast. I think we'll probably edit a couple extras and then go from there. And I'd be lying if I told you I didn't sometimes, a lot of times, use Instagram's editing parameters on here. Because I think you just have to edit for whatever it's being kind of experienced in. So sometimes in the smaller form factor, like it just, you can't get away with being as subtle as you can be on some of the larger form factors. So like right now I'm dropping the shadows on it. I'm looking at highlights. I'm not going to touch it. Warmth, I don't think I want to touch. I decrease the brightness a little bit. Just a touch. Shadows came down just a touch. I don't know if I said that already. Lux. Fucking hate Lux. I don't need so. God. Whose iPhone is that on my network? Fuck. Alright. Do this real fast. Got all these people who probably hate me for tagging them. Just a bunch of stupid magazines. Probably shouldn't say stupid. But magazines on Instagram that are not magazines. Tags and all that shit definitely helps. Hashtags. Like, I hate it. I hate this whole Instagram greasy world. But it's really kind of a why not sort of thing at the end of the day. It's so easy. It gets on people's network. They end up resharing it. Yeah, it looks a little thirsty, but I mean, if you want to make it in photography, I think you have to be pretty thirsty. And this is probably, I don't know, tagging shit. Like, I think that's pretty normalized. All right, I'm not even gonna do all 20. Bad location. This, I always do something really stupid. Where is it? Something about drips. It's amazing what people come up with. Drip Tech, Drip City, Drip Doctors Brentwood. Like, I really don't know. Drip and Roll, Drip and Juice. Be a winner. Drip God. I'm not that confident, let's be honest. Drip Tech. Fuck, there's so many good ones. Drip Wraps. So many. Drip Doctors West Hollywood. There we go. I'm not gonna pull it up on there. I don't know what I have in my notes. Basically, I have a notes folder where I have all my hashtags saved by category. So if it's a water image, I'll just go into notes, select it. I hate that I do this, but it is what it is. Kind of don't like the coloring now that I'm looking at it, but I just posted it. So boom. At least I got done what I was hoping to do. Edit, or like sift through all the shitty shots, edit, and post. But I spent way too much time sifting through shit, so I think we'll do some halfway edits, and then I might, 7 o'clock, I haven't eaten dinner, just drinking it. Ah, shit, I gotta do one last thing. I'm the worst. If anyone's still here bearing through this, not even the right words, but I think you know what I'm saying. See, this is where I wish I could play music on here. I try to put a song or some track from like the no ISO thing I'm doing. But I will immediately get flagged I played a clip of a video from Pipeline. It was like an old version of a song, and YouTube flagged it, and I was able to mute just part of it, but um, it was like a whole thing. Like I couldn't, I don't know, I like couldn't post it for a while. I had to process forever. Um, no, no song on this one. Can't win a wall. All right, let's fucking edit some. Curious about these. There's a way to kind of push these. This is where I have a really hard time. Is just committing to like heavy edits that are colored one way or the other. I mean, just like looking at where this started, I am so biased to balance. That this is like really hard for me because it just feels like you're just like mashing it with yellow, and I think there's ways you can fight it once you start getting into the curves panel. Like you can start bringing other colors out outside of like yellows and reds and just warm tones. But this is one where levels does a lot. I think levels is some of the best for just like smooth transitions. I think we want a little bit more brightness from that. But I mean, the problem I'm having now with this is like I've flattened all of this. There is some detail that is now gone. And that's part of the deal. But it's like, look how fucking red that is. And there's some people who do edits like this all the time. And I mean, I'm typically not one of them. Just because it feels too ham-fisted. I don't know. But that's like kind of the cinematic style. Highlights up. And so at least we're getting like a sense of sun. Yeah, see, this is where we're getting a little too hard. I don't like, I'm battling with it myself right now in terms of like instances of contrast. I look back on old work and I would just, I mean, a lot of it's in the screensaver right now in terms of like I make it soft, but then I create moments of contrast, which I think helps to establish things and creates clarity, but it's not authentic. That's kind of where I'm at. Like once you start like really fucking around with these, things start getting weird. But this actually isn't that bad. I mean, it's always like once you look at the original, it's like, okay, that makes sense. But so this is where I'll start going into the shadows and like, all right, how can we balance it out? Like, if we're gonna balance it, we're gonna have to go to like the blues. That's just looking muddy. But you can tell like it is more balanced. But like what's going on here? Like this is not okay if you ask me. This gets into like some weird middle ground. Maybe I'm just seeing shit. No, it's coloring that. Because this is technically like part of the shadows. Like part of this gradation gets into what's deemed shadows. So I think it helps like very subtly to kind of offset the shadows a little bit. I think that brings some balance in. Oh man, I mean this is gonna just be like pure coloration. And this is where it starts feeling really heavy-handed. Like I don't really want to get in the game of just like fucking around with the color of the sunset that much. I guess I kind of, I don't know. This is where I go back and forth. Like, fuck, I don't know. To me, I think somewhere in like the yellowish, orangish, and then drop down the amount, but maybe bumping up how bright it is. But see, already now, like, look at how like strong this contrast is. I don't know if I like it. Take it over. And some of these, like the highlights on dark images, you can sometimes get really weird with it. Like start putting blues in it. I mean, it's really evening it out quite a lot. But I kind of like it being warm. Kind of don't though. See, then you can bring it all together with the master. But again, to me, it's just exploring. Like, sorry. There's no like better answer to that. I think of the master as a way of unifying. Like finding the right balances. I tend to use this more as color correction. Some with a little bit of like styling in it. I tend to do a lot of styling and curves, although actually I haven't done any to this point, but I love bumping up the reds and the shadows. Just because it's unconventional. Let's see. This one's already too heavy to the warm. This is where I can get like a runaway. Let me see our green. Problem is I've already adjusted it for this slight bump in here. So the colors I'm picking for the shadows are already offsetting it a little bit. So I have it. And this is where like I don't like tugging on these values too much. Because this will get like instances of contrast, which I don't want. Highlights on a dark image, like you can really hammer and kind of get away with because they're really not, like if you look at the histogram, like highlights are pretty non-existent. So really all you're doing is bringing up the highest values. But this is where it would be nice to have some of the DaVinci sort of like controlling saturation based on lightness. There's no way to do that, at least that I'm aware of. All you have is a luma range. You can't. Well, I guess you could. Let's see. Field adjustment layer. Add a luma range. Show mask. Nope. Maybe a little more soft. Nope. Yeah, you can. Again. I kind of like it. It was just a little too saturated before, but I think knocking it down just a touch is kind of nice. I don't know what my phone's going on about right now. But to me, like, I think this is like, it leans warm, feels warm, but it's not like just all yellow reds. So I think this is, I'm pretty happy with that. I won't always like mark it green right away. Sometimes like I'll mark it yellow and leave it, even if I'm pretty happy with it. But I think for the sake of this, South Bay. Dark, warm, dark sea, warm. Sure. Incidental. Why not? And then develop. Oh, so I didn't upload the last one. So wallpapers. So definitely have to delete that. Don't want this straggler on here. And so these are updated. Boom. Mark them green. Good to go. So those are now available on the screensaver. Why does that look different? Stop asking questions I don't want answers to. All right, let's do something different. They're kind of all the same. Let's see. I definitely like this one. Something about it just feels natural. I don't know. Like to me, like you could. It's gonna sound like wank no matter how I say it, but you could like if you've been out in the water at sunset and you've opened your eyes, like you've felt this, like the wave going past, looking at the sun. Like you don't need all the details to everything here. But this is where I don't want to get out on that. It's too bright and you lose the fact that it's like at dusk, which I think carries its own feeling. Don't want that down. So you're already like, these are stuck. These are pure white, and if I'm starting to pull things down, like I'm getting further away from those values and creating more contrast, which I don't think I really want to be doing right now. This is kind of a weird one. Maybe this isn't one for right now. I think it's one of those ones that I'll take like 6 edits with. Even if I like just lean into it. No. Yeah, I'll do that one another time. They're all gonna feel the same. That's what I'm worried about. I think some of these are interesting. See, I used to assign star values to everything, so I'd know which ones were like, this is the best one, but I don't right now. I don't know why. Let's see. Oh shit, what did I just do? If we really knew this, yeah. Don't do that. Better. Oh, it's rendered a little funky. So spot healing compared to Lightroom's pretty good. It's gotten better the last couple releases. All right, let's see if we can make something out of this. I mean, kind of really liking this one. because it's so abstract. Like, you do not know what the fuck's going on. To me, that's better. Some balance here. This one's just gonna have like no fucking rules whatsoever. I mean, I don't. Like, this is already not something I would typically do. But if I want to create contrast, it's already getting too dark through here. Like, I'm really looking for contrast between here and here, but I don't want it to look funky. To me, that's starting to look kind of processed, is the way I would say it. But at least some of these details are being pulled out a bit more. The color is just so strange. And that's the other nice thing about these is like you can very smoothly do like additional. So you can do levels, you can do high dynamic range, you can do exposures. There's all these different ways of controlling value. I think these are some of the more powerful ones. And it's, I don't know, a lot of these applications just kind of bury some of these things. But again, like it's starting to look a little weird. And so this is where you start needing to be cognizant of like how, like the level of contrast you're taking between different parameters. Like if you're pulling shadows down, like probably don't hammer the mids all the way up. I mean, you can. I actually don't mind that. But that's probably the moment of contrast I'm looking for, but it's easy for it to like run away from you. And I'm kind of wondering if that's what's happening. I mean, it also looks like the highlights are just hammered. Why? See, I think this is better. Pull this down. Oh, I almost never use local edits, but I think this is one that's asking for it. Why don't I at least try it? I almost never use this. But if we can get, wait a minute, invert. Sure. Yep. That's the right one. Ooh. So usually when you do these local edits, like do not get sucked into like global parameters that affect all values. I think you lose all sense of believability. Like it just becomes immediately apparent like what's going on. So if you can like start just like pushing and pulling shadows, highlights before, like I think exposure and brightness on local adjustments is like last case scenario. I just can't advise against it enough. As I'm just doing, I don't know. I like it, but I don't like it. Well, let's see what happens. And I have color adjustments, so I used to do all my color adjustments in a different layer. I saw some YouTube videos saying that you should do it because you can then adjust the opacity of it. I think that's like wholesale preset approach where you have like a set color grade you're applying to everything and you want to kind of fuck with the opacity of it. I just don't edit that way, so it's kind of a legacy thing there. And every once in a while I'll pop in like, because sometimes I'll add additional colors through Instagram posting. Like I'll go through and I'll use their color reds in the shadows. I've done it on like the last 3 or 4 posts. And then I'll like come back here and say like, okay, I just want to like apply it on top of everything else I'm doing. So then I'll just do it in there if I really like it and replicate it. Because there's definitely some things in there that like, just because I'm stuck in this approach, like I tend to get focused on like this very linear line, like instead of looking at like how I could layer something on top of it. I don't like to overcomplicate things, I guess is what I'm getting at. This is like, I need some edibles for this. It's getting weird. I didn't even get into my colors yet. Let's see what happens with shadows. So this is where I'm just not even gonna remember that this is fucking water. I don't give a shit. This is just pixels right now. Because it's so abstract, it's like I'm not fucking with anything you can recognize. But doesn't matter to me at the end of the day. I think there's certain technical aspects of it that I want intact, but like, I don't. Okay. That's where I think this is kind of a nice departure from everything else I've been doing. In terms of like not worrying about like a warm edit. Like I'm just, I don't know what I'm doing with this. Yeah. See, it's like, wish there were more details through here, but it's starting to get too chunky through here. So it's almost like back to local edits. Which I don't want to fuck around with. I can't believe I'm doing this on a stream. Mask. I bet you the mask is right here. Show me that mask. Oh. Huh. That's one thing I noticed is like if you don't, I don't know, it's so easy to overthink things and just assume that everyone's noticing all the little shit that you do. I think this is just like organically. I think the shadow's there, but it's really amplified just because of what's happening. And I see something else that needs to be healed. Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty good. I mean, I've done so much to it. I'm like, again, this is where color editor, I haven't even fucked around with these at all. So, not right, of course. But this is kind of where you can bring things together a little bit. It's kind of, looks like it's softened through here because there's a little bit of contrast in the yellow and the orange. It's strange, but is it that bad? I mean, again, this is so abstract. Like, does it even matter at the end of the day? I don't think anyone's looking right there. Hopefully everyone's looking right here. to start. Mark it green for now. And so like with that image, like that's a prime example of like knowing how to look for happy accidents, basically. Because I think everyone learning comes across that image, and I probably had something very similar, and I was like, this thing sucks. And it may still suck, I don't know. I think now it's more interesting. It looks too... Yeah, that helps. After all that trying to get contrast, like, it needs to be softened. That's better. Yeah. Yep. All right. Some of these, where is it? Some is like at the top. Not quite. Sorry. Fuck. These wireless chargers are useless. I don't know if this is the one I was thinking of, but let's see how dark we can get this. But at the same time, not be that dark. Actually, I think I might do a lot worse. Yeah. How soft that is what's making that work. Nope, making it harder. What the fuck? Reset. Actually, this is not the one I want to do. I know there's a better one. This is it. Nope, nope. Get rid of this nerd. So my brush should be softer. It's probably going to show up. Yeah, ghosting. It actually kind of fixed itself. And this is where I'll probably just take all this shit out. Like, this is non-essential information. To me, it's just a distraction. Kind of being aggressive with cleaning this out, but nope. Get out of here. See, I said something about making it softer, and I've yet to do it. It's kind of worked, but key is to sample from similar areas. Okay, see, this needs softer, probably a little bigger. Should really using my tablet, but kind of lazy. It's like, where's a similar area in terms of like, maybe this might be too dark. Yeah. You can still see this far edge. It still looks wrong. I'll leave it for now. Nope, nope, nope. I'll get rid of it eventually. Let's square this fucker up. All right. So I don't want to lose the smoothness of this. So this is where like it's doing all right of a job. But see, a lot of it's through like the midtones. This is just gonna create more contrast. What's that balance of like finding something that feels like sunset, but like kind of like the last moments of it? I probably overthink the shit out of this, but that's just kind of what I do. I mean, I know that's way too green, but I used to be all about like purple magenta tint to everything, but I don't know. I've grown to really love green tint through like the neutral. Let's see what we can do. I think this is probably gonna be my last one. I'll jump off for now. And hopefully this has been somewhat helpful, interesting. I don't know. Again, I wasn't expecting a lot of people to actually be watching this. I think this is going to be something maybe someone will watch later and get some value out of. Unfortunately, there isn't that dialogue of having comments, questions. But I'm planning on doing, just like short videos talking about various topics, some technical, some just like more abstract. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out exactly, but I think there's probably some things I can get into where it's not just like, all right, sifting through this like 3-hour live stream to see what's what and figuring out like, oh, like what are the technical aspects I'm talking about. Like I can just go through and have like surf photography, water photography 101. Like here's some things to learn. Or I definitely want to get into some other stuff that's more like operating on feel. Like what are some things to think about doing that? What are the drawbacks? And I'm really wary of doing that because I really hate fucking thought leaders and people who do this shit for profit. I mean, I'm at a point where I just have been holding this shit in forever and I've not said anything to anyone, and I think there's a lot of bad advice being given out. and this is my way of kind of balancing that. I don't know. Maybe that's how I've justified it in my head, but um, it could be useful. I don't know. I mean, again, it could just be me shouting in an empty room, but way to find out. It's definitely a lot more neutral tint. It's always wild looking before and after, like how your eye adjusts to all this stuff. Like I'm still struggling with all that. I just don't think green is what's helping. This is more of like I just gotta like lean into. This is a sunset, feels warm. There's some balance being brought about in the throughway. Actually, there's not. It's all fucking red, reds and oranges. Yeah, I don't know. No, fuck that. Nope, 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 fucking nope. This is probably one I'll take a couple takes at. I think that's like a good. It's kind of like an androgynous, boring edit, if I'm being honest. I think there's more to be had here, but I think it's just gonna take like a couple tries. Like I'll create a variant, create a variant of it, reset, start over. Unfortunately, this doesn't include all of like the healing, removing shit. So I don't think I can. Can I copy? I think I can. Nope, doesn't like it. I don't know. I think there's already things I like about this more. But if you look at like the values here, I can't. So these values show up here, so you can kind of get a. I think it's the eyedropper does that in Lightroom, but there's a good amount of red in there. You can kind of see like how the balance is shifting. It takes a second to kind of like compute in your head how everything's balancing out. I just think it's because it's too far. I mean, it's really just leaning into it. Okay. I don't know why, but it looks like there's green. That's green. You start pushing that too much, you start getting like fringing around there. I just can't look at this. I'm sorry. Let's fix this. You know, there's a duplicate edit. It drives me crazy. And that's not a great fix, but I'd be amazed if anyone else saw it. Something about this softness that feels nice. I mean, even compared to this, like, I don't know. I can go back and forth. Yep. I think that's what I'm going to call it. I think I did everything I was hoping to do, at least. I do want to have more of this like purpose-oriented type stuff. I think like having a session just for like dark photos, having a session for like desert photos, or I don't know. I think this is very specific to sunset is interesting, but it's like sunset and water, so I think it's a little narrow in terms of like what I can actually do. I think it's good to show process in terms of like how I get from 900 images down to this, and kind of my flagging system, how boring it can be sometimes, but that's kind of part of the deal. I am thankful that I actually got some shit that's usable. There's a couple keepers in here. I mean, I have sunset pictures from years ago I still haven't posted. So don't hold your breath if I don't post any for a while. I mean, these are the ones that I think are in a decent spot to start with, but yeah, maybe if there's comments, like if there's stuff you like about this, stuff you don't like, stuff you have questions about, I'll try and check the comments and all that shit. This will be available DVR, so I didn't play any music, I don't think, this time, so should be alright. But yeah, I'm also going to try and make this more regular. So whether I'm working on, like every time I'm working, I want to basically be streaming. I want to get into like some of my design process, web development stuff I'm doing. I realized me learning stuff, like the last live stream was me learning DaVinci, or exploring DaVinci and exploring some of the synths in live, but I don't really know how much value that brings to anyone. Like, maybe it's interesting to see someone learning it. I really don't know. I have no fucking clue what's interesting to people with this. I get a ton of questions on Instagram, and that's about it. So I'm kind of going off of some of that. But beyond that, definitely leave comments, send me a message, whatever. I mean, I'm really at a point now where I'm just trying to share shit that I've learned that I'm just kind of holding on for no reason. So 3 hours. I think the Lakers might be champs by now. This happened. Yeah, it's official. Let's go Lake Show. All right. Yeah, I'll probably be back on this week at some point. I'm kind of quarantining, so I can't do anything anyway. So why not do some more of these? So yeah. Thanks for watching. Definitely, yeah, again, definitely feel free to leave comments, questions. I'll get to them. I'll try. I'm trying to make this live stream a priority. And I spent like all day learning DaVinci, using nodes and trying to make scalable animations. So hopefully the production value will be a little bit better next time. We'll see. No promises. But yeah, thanks again. And I'll be back this week.